role of the economy and tariff policy could play in President Trump's speech tonight. The president's new 10% tariffs took effect today, and companies big and small await potential refunds from the original tariffs, which were deemed unlawful by the Supreme Court. Joining us now to talk about the ramifications of all of this is Reuters White House correspondent Andrea Shalal. Andrea, thank you for taking time with us. When the president has talked about tariffs before, he said he wants to ensure other countries are paying their fair share. Critics argue the tariffs add pain for businesses and their consumers. What do you expect to hear tonight from him? And will you be watching for that cutaway of Supreme Court justices in the chamber?
Oh, absolutely. We are sitting on the edge of our seats waiting to see what happens in the fireworks that might ensue. I mean, Supreme Court justices are generally pretty, calm at these events, but we'll see if there's a little bit of drama. I mean, what we're expecting is a very strong defense of the president's tariff policy. He had a moment there after the Supreme Court ruled his previous tariffs unlawful, where he could have backed up and said, well, we're just going to, let this play out in the courts. Because tariffs are so unpopular, that might have been a good move politically, but that is not in the president's nature to do. And he came out fighting, swinging, actually, as we saw on Friday, with new tariff measures to announce. So under Section 122, although I spent a bit of time over the weekend now looking at that, and there are already some murmurs of concerns that that particular statute also is not appropriate for what the president is trying to do.
And the uncertainty around these new tariffs also caused a lot of concern on Wall Street. As you know, yesterday we saw the stock market take a big hit. We know the president watches the markets. What impact could that have?
Well, he's very sensitive to that, and it certainly has played a role in the past where he's backed off of policy. We did see something rather strange. You mentioned uncertainty. Overnight, the Customs and Border Protection sent out cargo notices on the customs duties that are going to be collected and said it was 10%. Now, we had the 10% on Friday. Saturday, the president sent out a Truth Social post saying, nope, we're jacking it up to 15. His officials went on the TV shows on Sunday to defend that additional move, and then this notice came out. So right now, the tariffs that are in fact 10%, and the White House is scrambling. White House officials tell us that there's no change in policy, and they do intend to get to the 15%, but it's just a question of filling out the appropriate paperwork. But, that adds to the uncertainty, too. So now you've got potentially people needing to pay more when that 15% eventually does take effect. It's a mess.
Yeah, a mess, and so confusing for a lot of people that are depending on their money. Of course, these small and large businesses. We talked about the Supreme Court, Andrea. Could this latest round of tariffs wind up back before the justices?
It seems unlikely. I think that the lawyer who defended defended the plaintiffs in the case, in the IEPA case, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act case that we just saw decided, has made some suggestion that, even this Section 122, which basically authorizes the president to take action on tariffs to impose a temporary tariff for 150 days of up to 15% in the event of a large and serious balance of payments deficit. Now, the president is mostly concerned about the trade deficit. And as just several months ago, his own attorneys for Department of Justice argued that this particular statute wasn't appropriate simply because the president was concerned about trade and not balance of payments. The language that we saw in the proclamation that came out on Friday was quite different and made an argument that, in fact, the U.S. is at risk of not paying its bills, which really, economists dismiss out of hand as unreasonable, that there is no concern. The dollar is still king in the world. So, it's a question of whether it comes up. And then the other question is, is 150 days enough time to actually get through a
Right.
court procedure? It's very likely that the tariffs will expire before any challenge could be heard or be decided.
All right, Reuters White House correspondent Andrea Shalal. Andrea, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your insights. We really appreciate it.